Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to The Naturalist Capitalist. I'm your host, as usual, Reed Coverdale, and I've got Charles and Mike on the show. And Dave, if you watch the show, we want you to come back. We miss you. We love you. So please join us. But it's just the three of us today, and we're going to talk about the brown wave. It's funny because I don't know about you guys, but everyone I heard was saying either red wave or blue wave. There was none of this kind of in the middle thing that we ended up with. And then the presidential race was pretty close, if it's even over. But in my eyes, it was bad. Like, it was a dismal failure. It was kind of the worst case scenario for third parties. I mean, Kanye West got more than the Green Party. The Libertarians got less than half of what they got last time around, percentage-wise and number-wise. So it just didn't go well. In my mind, the Libertarians, they could have done a lot better. Like, they made some internal mistakes. They alienated some people they shouldn't have. You know, I saw alienation toward Ron Paul supporters and Tulsi Gabbard supporters from the Libertarian Party. And if you're going to alienate Tulsi Gabbard fans and Ron Paul fans, I mean, you're going to get a small chunk of people voting for you, and they succeeded at that. But at the same time, there were a lot of outside forces. You know, there was a lot of fear mongering, like you have to vote for Trump or we're going to have communism, or you've got to vote for Biden, or democracy is over. So, Mike, what are your thoughts about how things went? Did you look at it as a failure or a success, or was it about what you were expecting, or just what are your thoughts?
You know, the days when I would get emotionally invested in elections are long gone. I'm kind of indifferent at this point. You know, I'm kind of happy in a sense that, you know, maybe if Biden becomes our next president, because it's still if, you know, everything's still up in the air, you know, maybe the Republicans will remember what it means to be concerned about spending, and, you know, hope, you know, my biggest hope, my biggest fear is I don't want us to go end up in another big major war. And, you know, if anything positive could come out of this, maybe Rand Paul can shine as a beaming light of conservatism in this hellhole we call Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I know I made a video, I don't know, a couple months ago where I said I was done voting for Democrats and Republicans. Given how the election results turned out, if a person like Rand Paul can somehow take the Republican Party over, and he's facing Kamala Harris in 4 years, of course I'll vote for him. Like, that's, of course I will. It's not even a question. So, Charles, you had I don't know what you want to call it, a special on your show just called The Brown Wave over the last couple months, talking about what was going to happen. So was it brown enough for you, or?
It was just as brown, if not browner, than I thought it was going to be. Arguably, it might even be a little browner. Look, I was sold on the red mirage theory. Okay, I was pretty well determined that if Trump just didn't win, it was going to look like on election night that he won, and then Biden would come out eventually as the winner. Why am I not so sold on that now, and kind of bought into this is really going to get bad, and there really could have been some stuff going on behind the scenes? Me and you were kind of talking about it pre-video, but to me, at no point on election night, even though Trump was ahead in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and we'll throw Alaska in there. He's still ahead in North Carolina and Alaska. But even though he was ahead in all those states, he never once had the lead on the electoral board, and it really didn't look like he was having a blowout on Joe Biden either. Okay. And so to me, it just kind of looked to me like some states, as we discussed, counted the mail-in ballots as they came, which in my opinion, all of them should have done.
Right.
But, each state has kind of made their own rules. So to me, as the votes just kept continuing to come in more and more and more as the days went on, and then the way they let Biden beat Trump in some of these areas where Biden was supposed to just destroy Donald Trump, and now he's only beating him by just a little bit. It's almost like if you were trying to make it seem like it wasn't suspicious, you would let him just barely beat him with all the mail-in. Just enough. That way, it's like we didn't count an outrageous amount of mail-in ballots, right? But if we had to count enough mail-in ballots so he would blow him out, now people are going to say, whoa, you found that many mail-in ballots? So to me, there's just a lot of coincidental things that have taken place here. But as far as how the brown wave is looking, there's one outcome that could come from this, and you're still going to get a brown wave no matter what, because you're either going to have Trump or Biden in the White House. Okay, yeah. So it's still going to be. But if this thing is going to court, me and you've talked about it, and maybe you want to get more in depth on that a little later so we can have discussion. But there's one outcome that can maybe cut back on just how much manure is actually going to flood the country here. If they make the wrong move one way or the other, I'm looking for just a complete brown washout from coast to coast, and it's going to get real nasty, real ugly, real quick.
So I have to admit that a dark side of me has kind of enjoyed this whole thing, and Mike is friends with me on Facebook, so he can vouch for me that I've been having a little too much fun the last week or so. But seeing everyone freak out that we either just lost our freedoms or the government is suddenly just again and is in the control of the people and we've defeated fascism. Like seeing these two ignorant factions of the country to me, like initially at least, it was hilarious. Like I'd say most of my friends on Facebook are Trump supporters, and I don't know if you guys have seen the memes coming out through all of this. The best memes in history, like it's been amazing. And I've been trolling the hell out of the Trump supporters, and a lot of my friends haven't said anything yet about the debt or about gun rights or about all these different things, because I've been making posts about it for months under the Trump presidency and how things have already been that way. And so they're kind of cautious because they know I'm just going to jump on them. But Mike, have you seen that people are a little too terrified about who the president can be? And to you, does that mean maybe the president has a little bit too much power if we're terrified about transition of power going?
Well, that takes my point exactly. What I would say is, if the president has this much effect on my life, maybe there's a flaw in our system right now, or the way we're implementing the system that was brilliantly come up with 200 years ago and now is just a shadow of what it used to be. I mean, it's kind of a sad state of affairs, but it's been going on like this for a very long time. Like I said, this is not an election that I was very emotionally invested in. Going back 2007 or 2008 and 2012 with Ron Paul, I was so distraught when he was kicked out in Iowa, and I just couldn't fathom what was going on with the Republican Party, how far they've lost their way, how they don't care about things that they're important anymore. And now I'm just like, after Donald Trump, I'm like, just, it's like literally how much worse could it get? And that's kind of why I'm hoping maybe there'll be a coalescing behind as an opposition to Biden, because
Yeah.
as we say this is a brown wave. It was kind of a mixed result. The Republicans possibly have picked up seats in the House, and they're retaining the Senate. And if that means we're going to have gridlock for the next 4 years, maybe that's not such a bad thing. And the only thing that would be worse than Joe Biden is probably if he manages to lose his faculties, and Kamala Harris, who's probably not very well liked in very many states that are blue in color. So, who knows? There might be a rising opposition, and we may get a red wave 4 years from now. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of outlining the exact reason the progressives wanted Hillary to lose, but I fear that the Republicans are not going to impress us any more than the Democrats did after Hillary lost. I mean, I've seen Austin Peterson is starting the Tea Party 2.0. I don't know if you guys have seen that on Twitter and Facebook. He's talking about it, and I'll admit I'll keep my eye on it. Sure, if that is the venue that works, whatever. But I'm done. When I made that video a couple months ago talking about not voting for Democrats and Republicans anymore, I'm done investing my time or money or energy or hope in them. Like, even if Rand Paul could take the Republican Party, that's one thing. But if he decides to run, it's going to take a lot of convincing for me to campaign for him or push the Republican Party to choose him, because to me, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are just so dead. They're like beyond saving. But Charles, I wanted to talk more about election integrity. I've been accused of either ignoring blatant election integrity and also giving it too much credence. Like, I'm kind of like in the middle of the road. Like, I don't really know what to think, because I feel like our elections have been compromised for a long time. I think with everything that was going on this year, there's bound to be fraud. We saw the Republican and Democrat parties suing to kick the Libertarian and Green parties off of the state ballots. The Democrats succeeded in several states. The Republicans didn't. But I mean, this stuff has been going on forever. But a lot of people seem concerned that this particular year there has been enough that it actually could have swayed the outcome of the election. And Charles, you're going to be doing a video on this soon that you're going to release. But do you want to just give us your thoughts on? I know you touched on it a little bit there, but give us your in-depth thoughts on why you think this could have been compromised. What specific things have you seen aside from just the red mirage and the poll numbers that really have gotten you skeptical about the narrative of the outcome?
Yeah, and before I go too in depth there, just real quick on, I'll kind of tell you something that I've been kind of putting out on my personal Facebook to some folks. In all honesty, I've kind of gotten to the point, my faith in the intelligence of the American people has gone bye-bye. I don't have it, seriously.
Right.
If I could equivalate what 95% of America feels like to me, they are millions and millions of Dory the fish. Now, if you've ever watched Finding Nemo, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Dory could not remember anything. And it's just every single election cycle, it's okay, Republicans have pissed me off, let's go elect Democrats.
Right.
4 to 8 years later, Democrats pissed me off, let's go elect more Republicans. It's like, really, you can't remember what happened right before that. Regardless of what the news is telling you, why does common sense not kick in and just say, look, this has never worked, it hasn't been working, why is it going to work this time? I can't fathom it. And so, unfortunately, my prediction is there's so many people, let's face it, in all honesty, Trump is more popular within the Republican Party if he loses doesn't take it, he's more popular with the Republican base than Mitt Romney, John McCain, George Bush, or Bush Sr.
Right.
That means the Republican Party, in my opinion, all that base is going to feel like they have unfinished business. They'll still believe, no matter what happened, as long as Trump doesn't get it, that the election was stolen.
Right.
You will see down the line a Trump 2.0.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, I'm going to sit here while I drink beer and predict it now. Okay, it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's actually.
You might get someone a little more physical conservative first, but I think you'll get the Trump 2.0 next, personally.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm skeptical of like saving the Republican Party. That's exactly one of the reasons.
As far as what's going on in the election, I've seen a couple of clips in particular that are standing out to me. Now, you've heard the allegations. We'll start with that. Rudy Giuliani, of course, held the press conference the other day talking about how they had to take it to court to get it so that in Pennsylvania, apparently, I guess it was actually law, from what I understand, that they have to watch the mail-in ballots be counted. And supposedly there's supposed to be, I guess, Democrat and Republican poll watchers. And as a mail-in ballot is taken out of the envelope, it's examined. If nobody objects, it's counted. If anybody objects, they set it off to the side for review. Well, because of COVID, these people had to be stationed like 6 to 20 feet away, somewhere within that range. You couldn't even really get a good look at these ballots as they're being taken out of the envelopes or envelopes or whatever, okay? And so they had to get a court order to say, okay, these people need to move 6 feet closer. And then supposedly, not only did when they moved 6 feet closer, everyone counting the ballots, the allegation is they moved 6 feet farther. So it's like they're dead set. No, you're not getting any closer to us, okay? Suspicious, okay? Especially in a state where all these mail-in ballots swung everything back to Joe Biden. Furthermore than that, I think that may have been thrown out in court, but there was in Georgia, who is again leaning blue now, a Republican poll watcher who claims that they saw someone take so many mail-in ballots that arrived that were even dated as being like November 4th or whatever, right? And slip them into a stack of ballots to be counted. Now, you've got the 6,000 vote glitch in Michigan. You've got an issue in Nevada where supposedly around 300,000 people, I believe, don't hold my number to the T on that, but it's a decent amount of people that they're looking into now who have supposedly voted within Nevada, and they're looking at them now. They didn't even meet Nevada state requirements to send in mail-in ballots, namely because they didn't live in Nevada. Okay, so couple that in with what took place in Nevada. You've got the fact that there was 100-something-year-old man who voted in Michigan that died back in the 80s. You've had that leaked out online. But the two clips that I've seen that stand out to me, and I guess someone could come at me and say this is Project Veritas fakery over here for all I know, but the two clips, there was someone, I guess they were part of the group who were supposed to be watching these ballots be counted, I guess went off to another room. There was a woman with a stack of envelopes, and she's counting these things, from what the guy's asking questions like, you're not where everyone else is counting. Why is no one watching you count? And then she sees he's got a phone on her, and she flips out because she's being recorded because she's counting mail-in ballots in a place that I guess was set off to the side so no one could watch her. Then someone else has got footage, and you'll be seeing this on my channel and probably within a day when I edit it up. Someone got aerial footage of a woman. You can see there's people at all their little stations opening ballots and putting the stamps, right? She's opening these envelopes up and appears to be filling out every single ballot and then stamping it and putting it in the stack as it's been counted. So you see all these things, and then whether it was enough to swing the entire election, there's at least doubt. There's at least the suspicion. And so to me, the fact that there's at least a suspicion My take is the Supreme Court should not rule in one way or the other. They should rule that this election in all those states, Georgia, North Carolina, Alaska, and all the others included, be restarted. It should be done in person, mail-in ballot, absentee, only if you can't be physically present to vote. Okay, do it like we've done all the way up to now. Most of this will be done in person. Okay, then let's count and see what the tally is. And if the votes all of a sudden don't go in Joe Biden's favor anymore, then there should be investigations.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the court needs to rule one way or the other, because that's going to open up another floodgate of even more brown wave.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the Supreme Court gives it to Trump, that'll be the second time that there's been a very close election where the Republican lost the popular vote and won because of a conservative Supreme Court. And oh man, the backlash to that would be insane. What's really sad to me about all this is I do not trust. I do not trust the media. I do not trust the government. And for some reason, people trust one of those three things. Like the liberals all trust the media, the Trump supporters trust everything Trump says. And I'm like, how? How can you guys believe any of this? You know, it's all so compromised. So finding what's true in this day and age is so hard. And the other thing is there's so much like bullshit mixed in with the truth. You know, Trump occasionally does say something true against the mainstream narrative, but I'm going to say like 80% of what the guy says is false. The media, you know, they lie all the time, and the government doesn't tell us the truth. You know, like look at COVID-19. They knew certain things about the disease that they decided not to tell us back in March. So it's a cult to believe everything that anything says anymore, in my opinion. Like it takes more faith to believe anything that one particular outlet of information says than it does not to. And that's a scary thing because there's so much information out there and we don't know what's true anymore. So I don't even know how we pick the pieces up and put it back together now, because the whole system's compromised, you know, everything. We don't know who to believe. We don't know what to watch. And trying to organize a movement right now is really hard because the anti-establishment people are almost more split up than the Democrats and Republicans are. Like they've successfully divided the red and blue voters, but the people outside the red and blue are just running around with their heads cut off. It doesn't give me much hope for forming any sort of coalition or trying to hold anyone accountable. It's Charles, you brought up when we were talking before the video, it says Jesse Ventura said like trying to herd cats. You know, it's a joke. So, Mike, what do you think about a truth movement or an anti-establishment movement? It's looking kind of sad right now given the election results and then how crazy everyone's going. You know, I think the age of Trump has removed consistency from anyone. Like the Democrats aren't consistent anymore because they'll sacrifice their values to oppose him, and then the Republicans sacrifice their values to support him. So there's just like zero truth left at all. So how do we rally people behind something that's good again?
Well, you know, it's tough because, I mean, it could be very well the opposite of what we think. You know, I have hope, which is weird because usually I'm so cynical. I think, you know, this could be the environment for red pilling everybody. You know, if the people who have been watching this quote unquote shit show are just getting fed up with their own party because of the inconsistent behavior, it could be the thing that says, you know, maybe I was wrong those times when I was supporting people that I thought were going to solve people's problems, and then they didn't. And, you know, I turned a blind eye for a while, but you never know. It could be the perfect environment to red pill everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking with, or Dak Rouleau is on Twitter. I follow him and I've done videos with him. He said something today to the effect of, if WikiLeaks ends up releasing something that proves that this election was rigged, then I'll accept it. But it's not surprising to me at all that people are still so plugged into the matrix that they think they're making a positive change by being part of the Republican or Democrat establishment. I've got friends who are like hardcore Black Lives Matter, like human rights protesters, who are overwhelmed with joy that Mr. Crime Bill and Miss Slave Labor for fighting forest fires have just been elected. And that's just so mind-boggling to me, that they're on just such a different plane of what reality is than I am. So Charles, how do we bring them onto our plane? Like, what do we, because if you start challenging someone's narrative, they lash out at you because their narrative is comfortable in their mind. It's comfortable to not have to think, to not have to challenge your own ideology. So how do you approach that? How do you get your aunt who voted for Biden because she cares about not bombing people overseas or something that's just completely opposite of the truth? How do we, how do you jump that hurdle?
I mean, honestly, there's not much more that you can really do other than just keep trying to expose the problems with both of them. The problem is, to so many people, I think that it falls on deaf ears just because they're convinced that, yeah, and here's the thing. I think at the end of the day, you get people to agree with you. You could get people to agree that, okay, maybe the Democrat and the Republican aren't the best choice, and maybe we would be better off with a third-party candidate, but they are bought and sold on the idea they're never going to win. And that's the biggest problem right there. For example, I've had people who wanted to know if I voted Trump again, and I said no. They got pissed. Well, did you vote for Biden? Hell no, I didn't vote for Biden. Oh, you wasted your vote on a third-party candidate? I'm like, what, wasted my vote? What are you talking about? You could have gave that vote to Trump, and he would have done better. I'm like, wait a minute. Let me get something straight here. Donald Trump won my state. How would my vote have helped him out in any of these other states that were swung by the mail-in ballots? It wouldn't have. He already won my state. So the fact that I voted for Joe Jorgensen did really nothing to hurt Donald Trump because he already won this state anyway. This wasn't one of the ones that flipped blue for Biden because of mail-in ballots. So your argument is completely dumb. But again, the media has convinced them on this road of tribalism that you've got to go Democrat or Republican because a third-party candidate's just never going to win. And I think we really saw the full effect of that now, considering how badly the third parties did. Here's my fear. If there is going to be any kind of a grassroots movement by 2024, my fear is it's going to be behind this People's Party mess. This new kid on the block that's supposed to bring the right and the left and the center and the green and the libertarian, and we're all going to come together and we're all going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya around the campfire and win 2024. Okay. Again, I said when people were rioting thinking they were going to get change, you've got people who are claiming to be revolutionaries that don't know how to lead a revolution. What you're going to have is a lot of people who are going to think they're going to bring about some election change, and they're going to run another candidate, potentially, who's going to focus on one little old office, and that's the presidency of the United States. Yes. They're not going to have ballot access probably in all 50 states, and they're going to think they can just take the presidency and they'll make a big difference. I've been arguing this for the longest time. This has to be just taken over more or less in the Senate, in the House, then work on getting that presidency, but take the foundation away. You know, take that foundation away from the Democrats and the Republicans. But I'm afraid that there might not be enthusiasm for green or libertarian. I think people are gonna, if they do this, be foolish enough to try to go for this new thing. And look how long it took the libertarians to get to where they got. You know, and if you go run into this new party that's just started, then you're going to just hurt things even more. So, you know, I'll throw a little bit into my final comments here, because I think this is something I'm going to have to do with my channel going forward, because what I'm looking at right now is people aren't getting any smarter anytime soon. And with censorship, it's hard for us to really educate many people. So with that being said, I'm going to have a little fun with it going forward. So I'll throw a little comedy in here and there. And I don't know if anyone saw my tweet earlier today, but I think that if we're going to do this as indie media and we really want people to think a little better, I brought up earlier that memory is the problem here, right? I think what we need to start doing is telling people that keep watching Fox News and CNN and MSNBC, don't pay attention to the news so much. Start paying attention to those big pharma ads. Now follow me on this one. In particular, I want you to pay attention to that Prevagen ad, because Prevagen is the pill that you can buy without a prescription that helps your freaking memory. Now I want you to buy it. I want you to take it religiously. And then maybe when the next election comes around, you can remember the fact that Democrats and Republicans screwed you over and you need to vote for somebody else, because clearly you hadn't been able to do it up to this point. So you need a little help.
Yeah, Mike, what's unfortunate about Trump losing to me is that I'm already seeing people like, quote, look at the stock market, look at gas prices right now, look at this, look at that. It's all going to crash under Biden, and it's going to be all Biden's fault, and we're going to need to get a Republican again. And as you know, I mean, we listen to a lot of the same people. We talk about this all the time. We've been saying on this channel that those things are going to happen regardless of who the president is, that it's our system that is causing those problems, not the guy in the Oval Office. So I feel like, to Charles' point about short-term memory loss, people are never going to blame the system. They're just going to blame or credit the last guy who was sitting in the chair. That's what's unfortunate to me. You got a comment there?
No. I was waiting to see if there was a question there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy because, like, yeah, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I don't even know what to say.
I'll try to phrase that as a question. How do we? What I've been trying to do on this show is like show people how the system affects them personally. Talk about artificially low interest rates and how that enables you to borrow more money than you should be able to, spend money that you don't have, put you further into debt. Try to explain how the student loan system bankrupts people and puts them in debt. You know, like how do we really drive those ideas to people that the system is what sucks, not necessarily the president? Because we live in a society that literally either blames everything on the president or credits everything that's good. Like you saw it with Trump, it was amazing. Like people were crediting the amazing economy to him. And then once COVID hit, everything was his fault, that it sucks too. It's like, you guys think Donald Trump is just like a king running everything? That's not how the country works, you know?
Well, you know, if anything, I would say a lot of Democrat governors are guilty of throwing the pipe wrench into the economy with hopes that the backlash goes against Donald Trump in the presidential election. You know, that you know, that's a pretty dim view of what these governors have done. Whether or not that's actually true, it's hard for me to say. You know, I mean, I think with regards to debt, we've had a debt-based economy for a very long time now. If anyone is to blame for starting the wheels on this falling off, it's, Alan Greenspan back in 1987 intervening in the stock market after the crash. It's Ben Bernanke stepping up and giving us, 0% interest rates after 1% created the housing bubble. There's so many players in this debt-based economy game that have created the largesse of the debt that we're dealing with now. And if you were to look at the U.S. debt clock, I don't even know how the numbers are, but I remember hundreds of trillions of dollars of unpaid liabilities that our government is supposedly on the hook for. It's not going away. It's never going to go away. And the only way to get ourselves out of it is to just continue to print more and more and more money. And it's just going to blow up in our faces someday. And it's just a matter of where and who gets hit the furthest. And, I think no matter who won this election, it was the banks and the military industrial complex that, they tried to, even though Trump came in as an outsider, because that's what he ran as in 2016. Once he got his hands on the keys, he kind of turned it into his version of the swamp. So, what's going to change when Biden gets his hand on the keys? I don't know. I can't see it anything good.
Yeah.
No.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Right. Yeah. So, Charles, I think you said this, maybe Mike said it, but you were talking about how the Republicans are never going to let Trump go. Like, he's kind of the new Reagan. And even if he legitimately loses the election, they'll never accept it. I really, I feel like the progressive wing of the Democrats finally let go of Barack Obama, and they kind of realized that he sold them out. I have hope that the Republicans will do that with Trump, but maybe he needed a second term to fail again before they would think that. Maybe because he lost, that will never go away. Maybe that's just stuck with them forever. Do you think that's the case, or?
Oh, I was saying that months ago when everyone was trying, look, for those who don't know, I do these videos now and then on a Friday night show that used to be a lefty show called Big Talk Little Talk. It is apparently not anymore. No disrespect to Israel, but all 5 of the videos are no longer lefty leaning that he's got. So that being said, when I would go on those shows, Israel always loved to play devil's advocate. Right. And he would always argue that before he said he was going to vote for Trump, he would always pitch the argument, why not take Joe Biden? And he would argue the incrementalism type thing. And you had other lefty folks on the show. You had Bruno Franco. You had Jeff Melton from the Bitter Pill. And you had Dak. I would be on the show. You had all these different characters who do not consider themselves right-wingers. And they would say, no, look, we're tired of the incrementalism type thing here. We want something different. Okay. Right. And he would argue, well, no, you need to take the Joe Biden approach here. My argument to him then was, okay, if Joe Biden wins, first of all, you leave the Republicans with that sense of unfinished business, because as far as Trump not getting everything done what he said he was going to do, okay, I've made that argument. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Trumpers who believe he did do a lot of things he said he was going to do. He's convinced a lot of people into believing that he's withdrawn troops from the Middle East. He is not.
Right.
Okay? He's convinced a lot of people into believing that he's negotiated great trade deals. He is not. Okay, not in my opinion anyway. Maybe there was a couple of little benefits in this new thing, but really it's kind of NAFTA 2.0. Okay?
Right.
So he's convinced a lot of people into believing he's done these things, but he didn't do it. And so my entire argument months and months ago, I would say go watch the videos, but you can't anymore, was that if Biden wins, for all the lefties who wanted to get a Tulsi or a Bernie to the forefront, there's no fuel to back up your argument. Why?
Right.
Because the establishment said this man can beat Donald Trump, and he did. So they're being proven correct, right? So why, the media said all along these Bernies and Tulsis were a gamble. Joe Biden is not. And then if he wins, they're going to point to that as evidence why you need more of them. Okay, and for the people who are going to listen to mainstream media because they're just zombies, they're going to believe that. Okay, on the flip side, I said this is why you need Trump to be reelected. Because one, that's going to destroy the Democrat Party because they'll run two corporate candidates who will fail to beat Donald Trump. Likewise, if you get 4 more years of Donald Trump, you give people even more time to grow a dislike of Donald Trump. If he does not get these things done, then they're going to come away from another 8 years saying, well, not much really changed, I guess. But now, because you didn't get that full 8 years, they got unfinished business, and they're going to be convinced, you mark my words, just like Kennedy, if he had won re-election in 64, was going to bust up the CIA, he was not going to take us into Vietnam, we would have had relations with Cuba, and the Cold War would have been ended, right? All these things that people say to this day that Kennedy would have done had he not been assassinated, people are going to say about Trump, oh, he would have got this done in the second term, you mark my word. Yeah. And that's why they're going to follow suit.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's unfortunate. I mean, unfortunately, you don't even lose enough people with an 8-year term. Like, there are still a lot of people who really like Barack Obama. I think you still would have had a lot of Republicans who really like Trump. You've still got Republicans that like Bush. I mean, I don't know how much
John Hannity.
Oh, God. But I guess we'll do a wrap on the show there. I'll just let you guys close out with Mike. You're starting something up soon. Maybe you're gonna maybe have a YouTube channel going at some point. You want to just let us know about that at all, or?
I'm at the early stages of starting a YouTube channel. It's going to be called Just a Truck Driver, which is my kind of, well, what do I know? I'm just a truck driver kind of a thing. I'm still planning. I'm still scheming. Maybe in the next few months I'll get my shit together, but who knows?
All right.
And in the meantime, the place to find me is on Twitter. You can message me if you really, really want to. I don't post much, but it's at Farmin Mike, I believe. I can't remember.
I think that's Farmin Mike 1, I believe.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Charles, my show, I'm still going to talk about politics a bit, but I'm going to slowly start transitioning away from electoral politics, talk more about, what people can do to take care of themselves, financial responsibility. Is your show going to be strictly politics still, or are you transitioning at all, or what's going on yours?
Well, I'm gonna leave my political channel up. I think I'm gonna start trying to incorporate more, possibly a little bit more humorous aspects, kind of like what Jimmy Dore does with his phone call videos, right? I had a couple of them there where I did the Joe Biden impression, so I might keep on doing a little bit of that. Play with a little bit, but I launched a second YouTube channel a while back that I've done nothing with. And I think that now might be the time to really start investing more into that, because outside of politics, not a lot of people know what I do with guns. Not a lot of people know what I do with cars in my spare time, so I've got another channel out there called Blue Collar Review, and I don't have a single thing on it but my introduction video. So I'm thinking I might, start dedicating a little more time to just talking about some day-to-day stuff and branching out from just the politics. I still want to do the politics because I have a passion for it. And a part of me does want to see Democrats and Republicans stop winning re-elections constantly. But I've also kind of reached a point where, again, as Ventura put it, you've got too many people who are still plugged into the matrix that are Democrats and Republicans, and then when you try to rally the independents together, it's like herding cats. So
yeah. Well, those both sound like good ideas from you guys, and like I said, my channel is going to be kind of headed in more of that direction too, and maybe we'll talk about some stuff other than politics in the future with you guys on the show. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll have the links to both of these guys' Twitter's account and to Charles' YouTube channel. And when Mike gets his YouTube channel up, we'll have links to that eventually too. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode.